So preparing for this talk, I broke the first two rules. I didn't stay with my first topic, and therefore it's not a visual. I just had the one slide. Yeah. So life athletics. I was going to tell a story. Instead, I'm going to tell my story. So, over a decade ago, I came up with this idea of life athletics. And since then, my life has gone in a completely different direction. I now think of life as this trainable activity that you can get better at the same way that you can train your body, the same way you can train for a sport. I think of life through the metaphor of sport, but it wasn't always this way. I grew up with a single parent. I didn't play sports, really, in any organized way. I played sports with my friends, but that was it. I always dreamed of more, though. And beyond that, I was born with something called pectus excavatum. I had a concave chest. Breathing was difficult. Running was difficult. And there was a lot of shame involved. So, moving forward, I pushed myself. I tried to push myself into sport. I became, at the age of 22, the oldest person in Canada to ever have my chest corrected. But still, sports were difficult. At this point, my lung capacity is about 70% of what it should be for my body. And so when I started to train my body, I trained kind of in secret. At my university, there were two gyms. And I would go to the one that was always empty, the side gym. If people were there, I wouldn't go in. If people showed up after I started to train, even if I'd been there for 3 minutes, I would leave, pretending I was done. And I just kept pushing. Eventually, I became a personal trainer, working in gyms, training other people. And this is where life athletics started. Someone came in to me to ask me some fitness questions. And this person was visibly really out of shape. And they asked about how to train their bicep. But they didn't point at their bicep, they pointed at their shoulder. And then they didn't stop talking. They kept talking about things they'd read in magazines, different ways to train, and then they left. And I was surprised. I had no idea what had just happened. This person came to me for help and left without taking in anything from me. And so I stopped and I said, where in my life am I this closed to help and this out of shape? And those two questions changed everything. When you ask a question like that, answers come. And I started to say, well, my relationships with my parents could use some work, and finances are really low, and it's the same thing as being out of shape. And I started to look at how this was all trainable. So I started training. Life Athletics came from this idea of starting a finance magazine. I was going to call it Financial Fitness. It was going to compare finances to personal fitness, as you can kind of tell by the name. And I didn't do it. The same shame that kept me from working out in front of people kept me from starting that project. But I kept chipping away, and eventually I started Life Athletics and started a blog and started interviewing people. And I've interviewed Olympians and NBA athletes and top executives. But each step of the way, I realized was a challenge. And that's sort of the point. The point of all this is that life can constantly be a challenge. I realized in preparing this talk and telling this story that I've constantly been saying yes. Facing the struggle, facing the embarrassment and the shame, and moving on anyway. When I came up with the idea of my podcast, it took me a year to launch it. I had everything set up in about 5 days. It took me a year to work up the nerve to do it. I'm on episode 100 now. I've interviewed some amazing people, and routinely I get emails saying that something that was said in these interviews changed a person's life, that it impacted them in a way that they're going to keep with them forever, which is beautiful. But what I realized was I started life athletics not necessarily to inspire other people, but for myself, that I needed that structure, that I needed that metaphor to move forward. And so I keep pushing, I keep training, and I keep looking at what life can be inside of this area of sport. To train, to play, to enjoy. And yeah, the best part of that is that it now involves other people. And so that's my story. Thank you for listening.